Oh, but Brooks and Claire.
Yes.
What? I'm sorry.
Your husband can download the app.
Yep. Yeah, whatever. No, it's gonna be on Facebook. They can.
Okay.
I love him, but he's gonna want to listen to this anyway.
40 seconds.
Oh, like I have to get over there now?
Yeah.
Just let them know. Download the app, KRGN FM.
Is this not live?
Yes, it's already. Ron
You're on camera.
did a stretch to it. It's okay though.
You have the wrong one.
Oh, I do? So sorry. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you.
KRGN, give me the number.
FM, The Rock, 98.5.
Now, if because you're Facebook living this,
Mhm.
how would somebody watch it on Facebook Live?
Go to my Facebook, Keneshia.
Are they sharing it with? Are you? Do you tag them in there? Do you tag them in it?
Y'all have a Facebook page, right?
First Community Town.
Okay. Oh, I can tag you afterwards.
Yeah, and we'll also be sharing it afterwards.
Okay.
So
Okay.
We'll have our tech department figure out how to put
Okay.
it on Facebook.
Got you. Because I'll also put it on YouTube too, so then you can just go in and get that unbranded thing or whatever. Embedded.
Almost ready?
Ready.
All right, Jasmine, you ready? All right, Mike, silence.
Keneshia, are you the Texas real estate lady?
I am.
you're ready.
Good morning, everyone, and it is a beautiful morning, unlike yesterday. I'm here, your Texas real estate lady, on this beautiful Saturday morning with Brooks and Claire from First Community Title. How you guys doing this morning?
Thank you for having us. We're excited.
It's my pleasure, guys. It's my pleasure. And I did like a quick Facebook live video this morning to tell everyone, come on and watch the show this morning. And it's going to be all things title this morning. And so saying that is that a lot of people don't understand the role that title plays in the real estate transaction. And if it's not the largest, it is like really up there far as the steps for real estate. Okay, guys, this is the step in the process where we receive a executed contract, right? Then it just go in the clouds.
Pretty much.
I like to tell people we're the hub of a transaction.
Right.
Like an airport.
Right.
All the planes come in,
Yes.
and then all the planes leave.
Right.
And where everything is pivotal.
We're basically everything's support system. We're the
Yes.
realtor support system. We're the lender support system.
And the
We
buyer
just
and seller.
support you all.
You do, and what a great job you guys do. Everyone that has a house here, you had to have touch bases with title at some point in time. Okay, so like I said this morning, if you are looking in this lifetime to purchase a house or sell a house, you need to tune into this show today. Okay, because it's very important. All right, so Claire and Brooks, thank you guys so much for coming on to the show today. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you guys about, I was just doing a series on sellers selling their house, in the process of selling a house. So now we've received the contract, we've negotiated the contract, and now it's accepted. So what's the next step after that, after I send you guys the contract?
From there, we actually open up title, and that is when the contract pretty much gets broken down into title language and tells us your legal description, the buyer and the seller, and the lender, and what type of transaction is going to be. And so it goes right from there to the examiner, and that's where we start all of our research.
All right.
I will say that we also receipt in the earnest money when you bring me the contract, and every buyer needs to understand that check gets cashed.
Right.
We don't hold a check in our file. We actually cash it.
Cash
That's
it.
probably one of the first things that a buyer goes, whoops, I forgot to move the money, or so it takes us some time to work through that sometimes.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, Claire, because what I tell my buyers when I sit down with them initially, and I let them know, okay, we're going to need earnest money. It could be between $350 or higher, or it could be even less than that, okay, because that the real estate is a negotiating business. So I let them know, Claire and Brooks, that your money never stays with me. Okay, I bring your money to the title company. I bring that option money to the seller's agent. okay? Because no money stays physically with me. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I'm going to go back because I know I just jumped. What company are you guys with?
We are with First Community Title.
Okay, and what services do you guys provide?
We provide both escrow services, which is what most people know. It's where you bring your money, sign your life away, and borrow all that money to buy your dream home. And so that is the side that people see. The other side that we do in the title insurance industry is we insure the ownership of your home. So we ensure that you have the primary right to your home and home ownership, subject to anything that might be against the property, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yes.
But the most common one is the mortgage. So you got to pay your mortgage, but we're pretty much saying that you're in first place. Nobody's going to come knock on your door, and you want that title insurance policy because you want to protect the most expensive item that you will ever buy in your life, which is your home. And so I like to say that title insurance gives the consumer peace of mind.
Wow, that's great right there. That's really, really great. Okay, so now what areas do you guys service?
Well, actually, we can close any transaction within the state of Texas. However, we are licensed in 3 counties, and that is Bell, Williamson, and Coryell.
Okay.
And what that means is that everything in those 3 counties can happen in-house. We don't have to contact another title company to do partial work.
So if you were to have a house, you were going to client for whatever reason, they really wanted you to sell them a house in Austin.
Okay.
You could still use First Community Title. We just contract with a title company down there that is licensed down there.
Okay.
And then they do the title work for us. So they do the packaging work. And then we still do all the escrow part, which is the part coming to our office and signing your life away as we talk about that. So,
good deal.
So we can really close in all 254 counties. But it makes sense that we pretty much do what is in our territory.
Agreed.
And then I also know the examinations are premier because they're done by our examiners.
All right, in-house. I hear you. Now, do you work with sellers and buyers? And when you pull the title for a home, who are you looking up the information for?
When we're pulling title for the home, we're really looking the information up for the buyer to know what is on their property, what we're going to be taking exception to, and what needs to be cleared before we can insure it.
Okay.
So that is done through a title commitment, and that may be another question. But
we'll go back over it for you.
So the title commitment consists of 4 pieces.
Okay.
And so you have Schedule A, which tells you about the actual transaction and describes the legal description. I think it's important people know that you may live at 123 Sycamore Street, but from a title perspective, we are looking at your property as Lot 1, Block 1, ABC subdivision. So Schedule A tells us about the transaction. Schedule B tells you all the exceptions, meaning the easements and restrictions that might be on your property. Schedule C is what we call clear to close. There are the things that have to happen in order for us to close the transaction. The most obvious one would be to pay off the seller's loan. Obviously they want us to pay off the seller's loan. And then Schedule D tells you who owns not only First Community Title, but also who owns the underwriter that we have chosen to insure that transaction.
Wow.
And why that's important to you is because not that First Community Title will ever go away. If it ever did, there are 5 underwriters that we underwrite for that will continue to be in existence for
years to come.
There's some of them are huge and traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Some are regional, but nevertheless, the big guys are above us. That insure your title.
Okay. Now, what is a title search?
A title search is basically what we do is we research the property and the purported owner. So we're going to be researching it for anything that can cover the entire subdivision, all the way down to something that's going to just cover your lot. And we also research the purported owner for any involuntary liens, which are basically just liens that they didn't voluntarily sign up to get. Like a federal lien. If you owe money to a credit card and have not paid it, a lien will go against you that. And so those are the kind of things that we look for because those do have to get paid off or taken care of before we can finish through the transaction.
I think, so when she says federal lien, she's meaning IRS liens. But also child support liens.
Wow.
So anything that might be filed against our individual. Now, if your name is James Smith, that's a pretty common name. So there may be things out there against a James Smith that's not our James Smith.
Right.
So one of the things we do during the process is help figure out whether or not it's our person. If it is, we go down one path, which is take care of the problems and pay them off. If it's not, we go down another path, which is signing some documentation and proving up that it's not the same person.
Wow, that's a lot of work, you guys.
That's fun.
It is.
Man. Now, how far back do you guys typically go for a title search?
So when we're examining, it really just depends. If we've been on the property before, we will tend to go back to one of our previous policies and come from there, because then we know that we've done the work.
Okay.
So we'll be with there. If we have not been on the property, we go back to 1890.
Ooh.
Or if it's a bigger project, we go back to sovereignty, which is 1845. However, that usually kind of has to stop around 1851, because that's when Bell County was established.
Wow.
Right. So most transactions, like in a lot and block subdivision, we will create that 100-year history. You have to do at least a 60-year history. But we will take it back to the 1890s, because in Bell County specifically, you need to. That's where a lot of easements were created. So if you're not researching that far back, you're going to miss some of the, long-term easements that are go across the property.
Wow.
So we will gather all that for a subdivision, and then from there, we only have to go from that subdivision forward. So the time this property was subdivided forward. So we'll try not to get too technical, because I want everybody to gain something from this.
But this is amazing.
Well, the way I describe it to people, our research is when we're doing lot and block, we are going through with a butterfly net, because we know everything that pertains to our lot's going to pertain to pretty much every lot in the subdivision. So we know we just got to go out there and we'll just catch it all. However, when we're examining acreage, we need to go out with shrimping nets, because we need to catch everything that even our neighbors had, because there is a good chance that at one point we came out of a larger parent tract, which is how acreage usually is. It usually starts off as 100 acres and then gets broken down into several different chunks. And so we know that if our neighbor of 12 acres has restrictions, there's a possibility that we will have the same restrictions, because at one point we could have been out of the same parent tract.
Wow.
So that's why for acreage, we tend to have to go with a much bigger net, so to speak, to catch everything. And then we have to weed it out.
Wow. Amazing. And guys, when you go with those shrimp nets and things like that, what are you typically looking for during those searches?
Oh, we're looking for everything. Liens, we're looking for oil and gas leases, we're looking for easements, restrictions, TP&Ls, which are Texas Pole and Light. And those are big easements. Those are pretty much those light poles you see out there. That's a TP&L. And so that's really what we're looking for.
Texas Power and Light was the original electric company, if you will, for Texas. Now you would know it as TXU, or you know it as Encore, or whatever company you happen to be paying. But those easements were created back in somewhere between the 1890s and the 1920s, and so that's why we have to research back that far.
Wow.
And so we're looking very much for who owns it and making sure that they have the right to sell it too. That's kind of top priority.
Man. And now, what happens if you do find a discrepancy during your search?
Well, I'm going to take this one. In the contract, it clearly states that the seller is responsible to clear any title problems that we find. So it is the seller's responsibility. Having said that, the sellers don't typically know how to handle that, and we assist them. So it's one of those things where I know what they need to do, and it's in some ways, if they give me the authorization, it's easier for me to do it than to ask them to go run those traps, so to speak. And so when probably one of the most common issues that we have in Bell and Coryell County, and the reason why is because they are undeveloped counties, meaning they're developing. So you have lots of farmland, and you're going into subdivisions and so forth. You will have ownership issues. So the grandparents bought the property, and now the granddaughter lives there, and she's going to sell a chunk of it or all of it. And she says it's hers, and I believe her. But when Brooks does the examination, Brooks finds it's really in her grandparents' name still. And so now we have to bring it from her grandparents into her name. And there are several ways of doing that. And it kind of depends on their family tree to how much depth we have to go through.
I have worked on one not too long ago where we ended up having 38 heirs and some still unknown. So those get to be really fun. Facebook becomes useful on that standpoint. Ancestry.com is a great one. And then one of the things that we use the most is actually Texas Grave Finder. It's a website that helps us find graves, and those usually have the obituary on them. And so that helps us know to piece together kind of who's related to who. And so we can just keep family treeing it out.
Oh, wow.
It can be a very investigative process, which is,
Yes.
makes it a lot of fun. And
It is.
as you can tell by how Brooks talks about it, and it's a real passion. This is not for the faint at heart. This
Right.
you have to want to serve your clients
Okay.
above
Gotcha.
and beyond,
Mhm.
because that they need us. I mean, that's what we do for a living. But you also have to enjoy digging.
Yes.
And you sometimes go down a rabbit trail that doesn't work. You have to come back and kind of go down another one. But we don't give up. I mean, there's always a way, in my opinion. There's always a way to fix title.
Okay. Okay.
If you've got a title problem, it just may take time. It may
Mhm.
take money, and it may take effort.
Right.
So, but everything can be fixed
Right.
even over time.
Basically, when building the commitment, we are building a puzzle and
Okay.
creating the pieces at the exact same time.
Okay.
So we don't know what the outcome will look like. We just know that we have to keep building and building and building until we know we have reached it all. And so if that requires us to go back to 1851, then it does. And we do. And every examiner that First Community Title has absolutely loves what they do. So that is a
Wow.
great perk.
Wow, guys. Awesome. Now, what is the most important part of title? Is it the Schedule C? May I say that?
Yeah, you can say Schedule C.
Yes.
So Brooks and I laughed about this and said it in unison. It's the whole title commitment.
Right, right.
So the whole title commitment is the most important. I think, the part that I focus on the most is making sure that when we close a transaction, that it is closed accurately,
Okay.
and making sure that we can give confidently to a buyer the comfort of knowing that home's going to be there and no one's going to knock on their door.
Right.
Occasionally there are things that come up, and when they do, that's what your title insurance is
Yeah.
for. And so it's about building that relationship. Keep in mind, I don't know the buyer or the seller typically, unless they're a repeat client.
Okay.
I don't know them other than the transaction I'm doing. So I
Right.
have to talk them into signing documents
Yes.
that they're comfortable signing, and they see these big loan amounts, and they see their mortgage payment. And,
Right.
they're excited and scared all at the same time.
Right.
And so to me, the most important part is trying to give peace of mind to our clients and confidence that, one, I'm there when they're afterwards. If they have something come up, they can call me. And also that they will never have to call me.
Right.
Hoping that doesn't ever happen, right?
Right.
But
Right.
we want to be a resource for them.
Got
We always
you.
encourage them to reach out to their realtor.
Yes.
But sometimes,
we
for
don't
whatever
know.
reason, right? And I don't want people to feel like I'm going to see you for this 1 hour for you to close your
Right.
transaction and
Mhm.
we'll never talk again.
Right.
That's not the case. We hope you'll come back. I mean, we want to make people happy, so they want to
Right.
come back, right?
Right.
One of the best ways to remember it, and what I tell people, is when reading the commitment,
Mhm.
Schedule A tells you all the good information you need to know of pretty much what type of transaction it'll be, who the owner is currently, and your legal description. Schedule B is everything we're taking exception to, meaning we won't insure it. And
Okay.
Schedule B is least likely to change.
Okay.
Your Schedule C is everything that we're requiring to get fixed before we can move forward.
Okay.
So Schedule C is most oftentimes going to be the one that changes. You'll see that one throughout updates being the one that changes the most,
Okay.
because that's where we need to be cleaning stuff up.
Mm. Ooh.
So now we're talking about residential primarily.
Mhm.
Yes.
So if we were talking about commercial transactions, it gets a little more varied there.
Yeah.
There are more requirements depending, and because those transactions tend to be, higher, larger,
Yeah. Yeah.
and have more needs for freedom
Right.
to use the property the way they want.
Okay.
I think the other thing I was going to say about title insurance, the title policy is regulated by the state of Texas.
Okay.
So whether you close with us or you close somewhere in Houston or in El Paso, one, our rates are all set by the state. So we don't, we all choose the same thing. We have the same rate. $100,000 policy
Uh-huh.
is the same price tag anywhere in the
Okay.
state of Texas. In addition to that, since we are regulated so heavily,
Mm-hmm.
all we really have to give you is customer service, because all of our fees are the same.
Okay.
And so it's important that you take care of the client
Right.
and help them through that. And so the title commitment is kind of just their first wave of understanding, so to speak. So
Right, right. Now with the title insurance, guys, let's say down the line after they purchase and something comes up, how do you guys take care of it? Do they just need to come back to you guys and go from there?
yes, so if somebody knocks on your door and says they have a right to your property,
Right.
or if you get a letter in the mail saying, hey, the prior owner owed me this money and they never paid it, and they sold this house, and I want to place a claim. What will happen, what we'll tell your buyer to do is they just need to contact us.
Okay.
We will then help them open the claim.
Okay.
At that point, though, the claim goes to the underwriter, so it goes to the company above us, and they actually process it.
Okay.
And they're required to respond within a certain period of time.
Okay.
And I'd love to tell you, I know what it is. I want to say
Right.
it's like 3 weeks, or
Okay.
maybe 10 days. But they are very quick to respond and let us know. They will let me know,
Okay.
too. Knock on wood, First Community Title hasn't had any of those,
Well,
so I am
amen.
happy about that. But we have had some scares where people think something has happened. So I think the number one call that I get after a closing would be somebody calls me and says, well, my next door neighbor came over and told me that my driveway is on his property, not my property.
Oh.
And so my first question will be, so what did he show you to prove that?
Okay.
And how did he know that? And they said, well, he just said it to me. Well, okay, I'm okay with that, but I need him to now show you why he thinks that.
Okay.
And whatever documentation he has, then we will look at and see if we can make sense of. If we can't, then we will send it to the underwriter and we'll do a claim. And that does happen. I mean, you do have areas that, long time ago were 300 acres and we surveyed differently 100 years ago.
Okay.
So now it's really 294.
Right.
So
right.
you really could end up with some missing land, so to speak.
Okay.
In a subdivision of homes, you could have somebody's driveway that just curves over onto the next person's property. A survey will show that. And a survey is basically a picture of how the house or the property is improved and how the improvements sit on the lot.
Right.
And so that will be probably the number one. And sometimes it comes out that the next door neighbor doesn't really have anything. He just feels that way. I don't know, but that's true. And so then you have to kindly say, you need to just explain to him that he can call me and I'll ask him the same questions. But if he doesn't have anything other than I'm just telling you,
right,
that doesn't have anything. And title insurance is a loss provision. So if you don't have loss, I can't always help people with their next door neighbors, right?
Right.
But I do invite them to call me because sometimes them hearing it from me is a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to talk about that she mentioned about how land is measured differently. Way back when, it actually used to be measured by a man's stride. So a man used to actually go out and walk it. When we are mapping old properties, and we have to, every time we have to map meets and bounds, we tend to do it for everyone, just because we want to make sure that it is our land we are following. Well, we then start to get into a vara, and a vara used to be known as a man's stride. Now it is 33 1/3 inches.
Okay.
But it used to be actually known just as a man's stride. And you will see different kind of calls in the meets and bounds, and a call basically tells us where to go. And the older you get, the more you'll start to actually see nature being part of a call. You'll see go to the cherry tree with a notch in it and turn left. Well, the problem now is that cherry tree is 100 years later, so that cherry tree is a lot bigger than it used to be. That notch might be gone. Or it'll tell you to go to a pile of rocks. The craziest one I have seen, and it's still my favorite, and I think we actually have it hanging up in the office, is a man riding a donkey for the length of what it would be to smoke 2 cigarettes. The problem with that is everyone smokes a cigarette differently. Donkeys walk differently. So it is quite comical to see how they used to do it.
Oh.
We are much more precise now. We
Yes.
have something called GPS, and so surveyors can be much more precise. But she is correct. I mean, we do have a deed in our office that does say you will go to where the 3 creeks meet, and this is south of Temple, and, but around the academy area. Go where the 3 creeks meet, and then go to the pile of rocks with the X in it. Now, what's an X? Is an X 2 pieces of wood that were there? Is an X, there's 1 rock that has an X on it? But back then, they didn't have any other way of measuring.
Right.
So they measured it, in terms of the landmarks they could find. Those would obviously be legal descriptions we won't accept, and we would require a new survey. So I appreciate the fact that Brooks is speaking good English today, because vara is correct. In Texas, you'll hear it called varas, but that's just the Texified.
Right.
Meets and bounds is a term for acreage transactions of lengths and angles. So go 100 feet to the north and then turn 12 degrees to the east, and and so forth. And then once the property is actually subdivided, it is no longer known in meets and bounds. It is known as Lot 1, Block 1. okay, or lot 4, block 14, or whatever, whatever subdivision it's in. So I have sometimes a lot of people who buy a house and on a lot, and they'll say, so how much land do I have? Well, we don't determine that for you.
Right.
You know, it's now a lot and block, so you have what you see. You know, I mean, the survey will show it, but it doesn't show the acreage. So it wouldn't say you own 0.58 acres.
Yeah.
They might be able to figure that out for you if for some reason you need to know.
Yeah.
And your plat will also tell you the standard lot size. Most lots within the plat are going to be the same size. You'll have a few that'll be different, and they will tell you, you know, lots 9 and 10 in block B are 5,000 square feet, and the rest of the lots are 7,000 square feet.
Okay.
So your plat will tell you. Your plat will tell you a lot of different information that is really good to know, and that's why plats are important when the subdivision's been subdivided.
Okay. And guys, the plat is before you even put a house out there, whatever, and the builder is selling these spaces. I'll break it down like that. Spaces for you to purchase for one day to put something on at your house, or if it's a business, that's your plat that they're talking about that will let you know from this part to this part. It's pretty much almost like a survey.
Right.
And
it is. I was gonna say, in fact, you just literally gave me the perfect segue. The word plat is often used to refer to the survey.
Yeah.
But the plat is also the subdivision that is filed at the official records of Bell County or whatever county you're in that shows all the lots in of that section of the subdivision.
Right.
Now, many subdivisions can have multiple sections.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of depends on how much they can develop or they want to develop at a time.
Right.
And so the overall subdivision plat will have 50 lots on it.
Right.
And that will have some determination, and it'll tell you the distance that it is and how wide it is and so forth. So you can figure out the acreage level if you wanted. So.
And then a lot of times too on the plat, it lets you know those easements. Yes, on there.
It will also let you know if you're in a floodplain, and that is very, very important, especially with what recently happened in Houston.
Right.
With Hurricane Andrew. Harvey. Sorry, I keep mixing up my
That was
hurricanes.
me in Miami with Andrew.
Hurricane Harvey. Houston wasn't in a floodplain at the time.
Or that part.
That part was. Wow. Well, now it is. It'll be in 100. It'll actually be in 1,000-year floodplain.
But since it was subdivided before, that particular plat won't show it. Future plats that are in flood zone areas will show it.
So update.
So, right. And so a little closer to home, there was some heavy flooding that we had in Bell County back in, I believe it was 2009 and 2010, where Salado flooded. And parts of Salado had what they called a 500-year flood, meaning it was that higher than it's been in 500 years, and it's only expected to happen once every 500 years. So they had a 100-year flood one year and then a 500-year flood the next. And so any new subdivisions going down, I'm working on one right now, that are going to be platted, will show the new flood zone map on top of it.
What does that do to a buyer?
That requires them to have flood insurance. It's a requirement at that point, whereas I don't live in a floodplain, so I'm not required to. However, I can go get it if I want to.
Okay.
Whereas if you do live in a flood zone, you are required to have flood insurance.
Right. Yeah, and your lender will require that. I mean, you want it anyway.
Right.
Your lender will definitely require that. My parents bought one of the houses that flooded in Salado 6 years ago, and that didn't bother them because they figured it's flooded twice. It's not going to flood a third time. That's fine with me. But they have flood, and they bought it cash, so there is no lien. But they have flood insurance, and that's something that you discuss with your insurance agent on your transaction, whatever insurance agent you use for your auto at home. So, but that does bring up something that I want to make sure that I mention, which is the difference between homeowners insurance, car insurance, is it insures you from today forward. Title insurance insures you from today backwards.
Wow.
And so it is a fee that is only paid one time.
Okay.
And it is paid at the time of the sale. If you're to do a refinance because you could get a lower rate or you want to change the terms of your note, that will cause another title policy, but not for the homeowner. It'll be a new title policy for the lender.
Okay.
If for some reason the owner needed one, we could reissue, but that doesn't typically make sense. But our title insurance policy is something that you only get once. It doesn't renew every 6 months where you have to pay anything. So that's something that is important to know, because when you're buying a house, your top 3 fees are the fees, the origination fee you're paying to the lender, the commission you're paying to the realtor, and the title insurance.
Right.
And so those are the ones that people go, oh, what is this?
Right.
What am I paying for?
Right. Man, I hope y'all getting all this information out here. all this good information out here. And I have on here deeds. What are the different types of deeds? And I know we're running out of time, but
well, I'm going to tell you that I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to give legal advice. So that's a little tough. But I'll list off the names, and I'll be happy to discuss it with anybody. You have a general warranty deed, you have a special warranty deed, and then you can have a gift deed or an loyalty lien deed, and they all have different meanings, and we can help you through any process.
Got it.
I think if we're about to end, I just want to mention that cyber fraud is a big, huge concern for us right now. And so we are taking painstaking steps to make sure that we are protecting the money that we transfer amongst our properties.
Right.
And so that is the biggest concern. And I need to encourage any buyer, seller, agent, lender to not hesitate to pick up the phone and talk to your title company before sending money or when you are asking for wiring instructions or ways of getting money, because it's a very scary thing. And they have attacked title companies in Bell County, and so money has been lost. Not First Community Title, we're good. So we have a big cyber list of protection mechanisms that we utilize.
Wow.
So,
anything for you to say, Brooks?
Actually, I see on here that you want to talk about restrictions, and I do want to talk about those.
Okay.
Because they are important. Restrictions are just that. They're a document that states what you can and cannot do with your property. And you can have them anywhere from done by the state, done by the city, all the way down to done by your developer. And you can also have all three on your property. And restrictions, basically, they can be anything from telling you how big to how little your house can be, where you're allowed to keep your trash cans, how long your garage door can stay open in a consecutive time. What color your house is allowed to be, what type of flag you can hang, the kind of decorations you can do. And they are very important because some people don't want to be told what to do with their property. Right. Some people do. So it really just depends on what kind of buyer you have is really what the restrictions where we need to watch out. And most buyers do want to read the restrictions prior to buying the property. And that is where the option period comes into play.
Yes.
And that's why we do try to push a commitment out within that 10-day period to keep you within your options. So that way, if the buyer's like, whoa, I didn't know I was part of an HOA, which is a homeowners association, I don't want to have to pay, $500 a year to keep my property up. I don't want to be told what to do all the time. They're able to see that, and then they're able to comfortably back out.
Okay.
Or they can say, no, I do want that. I want to make sure that no one in my property is going to have anything that I don't want to see. No one's going to be roasting a pig in the front yard or anything like that. And so that's why it's very, very important to make sure that you get your restrictions as soon as you can, because that is a big deal to your buyers.
And as a realtor, I want to always encourage you to note whether your client is requesting something specific.
Right.
Because if we can't get the commitment out during the option period, say you negotiate down a really short option period, we can look to try to pull the restrictions so they can review them. So if you know they're going to want to have a horse, or you know they're going to want to have chickens, we can give you the restrictions to review to make sure it meets their needs.
Gotcha.
And that would be something you would want to give to them to read.
Yes.
You don't interpret for them.
Right.
Right. Yes. And even when it comes down to the horses and everything, that's also governed by the state as well. So it's really just breaks it down even more, and that's why you have a title company, and that's why you want to get title insurance. You don't want to sign the deed on the hood of a car and take it down to the courthouse and record it. You want to make sure that you are going to be covered and protected, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to make sure you feel safe throughout this transaction, because let's be honest, buying a house will be the biggest purchase you'll make in your life.
Right. I agree. And ladies, I want to just thank y'all once again for coming on to the show. And I hope it's not your last.
Well,
it's not your last.
We hope so too.
Yeah, we'd love to come back. This was fun. I really do appreciate the fact that you gave us the opportunity.
Definitely.
Our goal is really to share our information with the consumer.
Right.
I think the consumer needs to understand more and more about their transaction, to know what they're getting, what they're not getting, and to have a relationship not only with their realtor but with their title company.
Agreed.
So that they're comfortable calling those and asking those questions. I may not be the answer, but I can direct them.
Right. And I tell them that all the time. I don't know everything. So it's great when I have a backing of a title company that I can pick up the phone like, hey, Brooks, hey, Claire, I have this client, X, Y, and Z, need to know, blah, blah, blah. Can I give them your contact information?
Well, I'm going to tell you, yes, you can. You don't have to call me. I do like to know that somebody's going to, but you make a very great point. As much as the realtor wants to take care of their client, there are times that it is most important for them to talk directly to us, as opposed to you having to try to decipher or give them the information that we give you. So I'm a talker, so I'm more than happy to help anybody that I can.
And I stay in my lane. I know real estate. I don't do the finance part and I don't do the title part. And I let them know that. I'd rather just stay in my lane.
I like to tell people, I'm not going to negotiate your contracts. And so I don't want you approving my surveys. Let me approve the survey. So yeah, I totally get that. I'll stay in my lane.
Well, guys, thank you guys for tuning in this beautiful Saturday morning to the Texas Real Estate Ladies Show. I hope you guys got a lot of information from our show today, guys. And remember, if you have any questions at all, go into my inbox. This is First Community Title. You guys can look them up on Facebook as well, or their website, and send them comments or any questions you may have. And I try to tell you guys, this kind of information is great throughout the country. So yes, we're talking about Texas, but think about it. If you go to a title company in Maine or something like that, and you remember, hey, they said this, let me ask them this and see if it's something similar. How far back do you go back for title searches? Those are things that you can ask to your title company, even if you're out of the state of Texas, okay? So once again, I pray that this show blessed you in some type of shape or form, okay? And y'all have a beautiful, blessed Sunday, Saturday.
Mike's clear.
Mike's clear.
Jasmine, I forgot to turn this up. I'm sorry.
Wow, that was fast.
I know that was good.